and good day. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz from eTurboNews, and this is a breaking news update. For more news updates and shows, please go to youtube.com/travel news group. youtube.com/travel news group. Here's our update.
Italy COVID-19 infections now up due to year-end festivities. In the last 24 hours in Italy, there have been 189,109 new cases of COVID-19 and 231 deaths. On January 4, the deaths were 259, while the new positives were 170,844. The swabs carried out were 1,094,255, with positivity rising to 17.3%. Yesterday, it was 13.9%. These are the data published by the Italy Ministry of Health in today's bulletin on the spread of the virus in Italy. There are 1,428 patients in intensive care in Italy, 36 more in 24 hours in the balance between entries and exits. The daily admissions are 132. The hospitalized with symptoms in the ordinary wards are 13,364, or 452 more than January 4. There are currently 1,265,297 COVID positive in Italy, 140,245 more than yesterday. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the total cases are 6,566,947 and the deaths 138,045. On the other hand, the discharged and healed are 5,163,605, with an increase of 30,333 compared to January 4. Meanwhile, the technical scientific COMMISSIONCTS of the Italian Medicines Agency Agenzia Italiana del Farmaco IFA conducted a meeting in an extraordinary session at the request of the Ministry of Health. The committee expressed its favorable opinion on the possibility of providing a vaccine booster dose also for subjects between the ages of 12 and 15 years. An analogy with what has already been established for the age group 16 to 17-year-olds and for frail subjects of 12 to 15 years, this booster must be carried out with the Comirnaty vaccine previously known as the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. The decree with the rules on isolation has been published in the official journal for those who have had contact with a positive. Reduced if you are vaccinated. And from January 10, the most substantial innovations of the latest government decree arrive with an extension of the obligation of the reinforced pass to almost every social, recreational, or sporting activity. New year equals new rules and deadlines. January opens with new rules and deadlines that have been decided by the latest law decrees that came into force between Christmas and New Year. From the Super Green Pass to the masks, here are the key dates to mark on the calendar. January 1. The quarantine has changed and has been abolished for vaccinated people. It has transformed into a 5-day self-surveillance. The rule applies to those who have received a complete cycle or are cured of COVID if in contact with a positive. In this case, it is mandatory to wear the FFP2 mask for 10 days. January 5. This is the date the Council of Ministers could vote on the Super Green Pass for public administration workers. It is not yet clear whether the measure will also affect the private sector. In the world of work, the Super Green Pass is already mandatory for health professionals, law enforcement agencies, and teachers. Any such measure will come into effect no earlier than February. January 6, the Series A championship restarts, and following the rules of the last decree of 2021, the maximum capacity of the stadiums will be 50%. The rule is valid from January 1 for all sports facilities, while for those indoors, the maximum capacity must be 35%. January 10, this is the date on which many restrictions come into force for the unvaccinated and, therefore, for those who do not have the reinforced Super Green Pass, which becomes mandatory almost everywhere. It will be used for public transport from buses to trains, to the subway and planes, as well as to eat at a restaurant even outdoors, to sleep in a hotel, to ski, and to enter social and recreational circles. School starts again in Liguria on January 10, but it is still not clear if and how students will return to the classroom. Teachers and professors will have to wear the FFP2 masks if there is a student in the class who is exempt from wearing a mask and always in the schools of the childhood. There is an expectation for the new quarantine rules which could in fact, in the case of 2 infected people of the same class, see the vaccinated remain in the presence and transfer home to remote education who has not yet had the vaccine. The 10th of January is also the time for receiving the third vaccine dose, which will drop from 5 to 4 months. But this is not an obligation. January 31. Discos and dance halls will reopen that since December 30 had seen a squeeze on their category, effectively preventing the New Year's Eve balls. February 1. The new duration of the Super Green Pass officially enters into force, which means no more than 6 months must have passed since the last dose, whereas previously the limit was 9 months. To be in good standing, it will, therefore, be necessary to carry out the new vaccination dose. March 31. The state of emergency officially expires throughout Italy, to which various regulations such as those of smart working are linked. Until that date, FFP2 masks should also be sold at controlled prices, meaning the price must be between 50 cents and the euro. More news about Italy. Number Italy. Number idolatravel.
Thank you for listening to our news update. There's more on youtube.com/travel news group, or you can read us, of course, in going to our news portal at eTurboNews.com or travelnews.online.